Manchester United had one recognised senior midfielder available for pre-season. 1. Mason Mount. That's the sentence that explains everything you're about to hear, and it's why, in the space of about 48 hours, United went from being quietly embarrassed in the transfer market to agreeing back-to-back midfield deals worth a combined £85 million. The second of those two, and arguably the more interesting one, is Andrey Santos. So let's get into why United moved for him, what he actually brings, and whether this is a panic buy dressed up as a plan or something smarter than that. Let's start with the timeline because it tells you everything about United's summer. Casemiro left when his contract expired, and nobody at Old Trafford was under any illusions about how big a hole that left. Then Manuel Ugarte, the man supposedly lined up to be sold, tore his cruciate ligament playing for Uruguay at the World Cup and is now out for months. United's response was to go big. They wanted Elliot Anderson, but that chase ended when Manchester City paid a British record £116 million for him. They pivoted to West Ham's Mateus Fernandes, only for Tottenham to swoop in with a guaranteed £85 million and win that race too. So with senior players due back for pre-season in a few days and a trip to Helsinki to face Wrexham on the horizon, United needed midfielders, and they needed them fast. That urgency is exactly why Santos makes sense. United had already struck a deal with Atalanta for his fellow Brazilian Ederson worth around £35 million, and Santos followed hot on his heels. The structure of the deal is straightforward. £48 million guaranteed, another £2 million in add-ons that are being described as easily achievable. And Chelsea have negotiated a 10% sell-on clause, which tells you they still believe there's real upside left in this player even after selling him. Santos has been given permission to travel for a medical, and the whole thing has moved at a pace United's business hasn't managed all summer. So who exactly are they getting? Santos is 22, Brazilian, and has been at Chelsea since January 2023, when he arrived from Vasco da Gama for around £13 million as an 18-year-old already captaining Brazil's under-20s. He's spent time out on loan too, a brief and largely forgettable stint at Nottingham Forest, followed by an 18-month loan at Strasbourg that did wonders for his reputation, 12 goals and 5 assists in 45 games in League One, numbers that are frankly rare for a central midfielder that age. Back at Chelsea for the last season, he made 38 appearances in all competitions, chipped in 2 goals and 3 assists, and picked up 27 Premier League appearances along the way despite never being first choice. And that's really the crux of it. Santos is a genuine box-to-box midfielder, someone who can sit in a double pivot but also arrives late into the box, someone comfortable receiving on the half-turn under pressure and driving forward with the ball rather than just recycling it sideways. Scouts have consistently pointed to his ball recovery numbers as elite, and his passing and tackling are rated just as highly. He presses aggressively, tracks back diligently, and has an eye for goal that most young midfielders simply don't possess. If you're picturing the kind of player United's midfield has been crying out for since Casemiro's legs started to go, energetic, mobile, capable of doing a bit of everything, Santos fits that description almost too neatly. He isn't the finished article though, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. His decision-making in tight central areas can still let him down. He sometimes commits to challenges a fraction too early, sticking a leg out rather than getting his body properly behind the tackle, and that's cost him fouls in the past. His second touch under the heaviest pressure isn't always clean, and there are moments in extended dribbling situations where his confidence to actually take on a defender wavers. None of that is disqualifying at 22. If anything, it's the normal profile of a talented young player who spent 2 years fighting for scraps of game time behind an increasingly stacked Chelsea midfield, and that's really why Chelsea let him go. This wasn't a player they wanted to lose, but Moises Caicedo signed a new contract running to 2033 back in April. Enzo Fernandez isn't going anywhere either, and with Chelsea out of Europe entirely next season, there simply wasn't a pathway to regular first-team football at Stamford Bridge. Santos made that clear to people close to him weeks ago. Add in Chelsea's need to balance the books without Champions League income, and you can see why letting a promising prospect go for a healthy profit made too much sense to turn down. It's the same logic that's already seen Marc Cucurella move to Real Madrid and Tariq George join Everton this summer, with Trevoh Chalobah expected to follow suit. For United, the appeal isn't just the player himself, it's the value. Compare £48 million for Santos to the £85 million Tottenham paid for Fernandes, or the eye-watering fees being thrown around for the likes of Tonali and Anderson. United have been visibly reluctant to enter bidding wars this summer, and pairing Ederson's experience with Santos' raw upside lets them address the same problem for roughly the combined cost of one marquee signing elsewhere. It's not the moment that will get supporters posting fireworks emojis, but recruitment staff at Carrington have made no secret of their satisfaction with how last summer's business worked out, and this feels like more of the same philosophy. Which brings us to the obvious next question. Is that it for the midfield? Not necessarily. United have long planned to bring in 3 midfielders this window, and Aurelien Tchouameni remains a name very much on their radar, along with Bournemouth's Alex Scott and even teenage Lille sensation Ayoub Boadi, who's been turning heads at the World Cup. The Tchouameni situation seems all but impossible, with the Frenchman signing a new deal to remain at the Bernabeu. Scott has been talked about plenty, but Bournemouth seem to value him around the same price United walked away from Fernandes for, making a deal tricky. Beyond midfield, Crescencio Somerville remains the priority target on the left wing, with that deal likely contingent on Marcus Rashford's future being resolved first, and a move for Newcastle's Lewis Hall at left back has been shelved until the midfield rebuild is finished. So where does that leave United? On the positive side, 2 of their 3 planned midfield signings are already wrapped up. The squad finally has depth and legs back in the engine room, and there's a clear sense the club is prioritising smart value over headline fees this summer. If Santos kicks on the way Strasbourg suggested he could, and Ederson settles quickly beside him or Mainu, this window ends up looking like the moment United's recruitment team found value everyone else overlooked. But there's a version where it doesn't work out that kindly. United are back in Europe next season, and they're leaning on 2 youngsters who had roller coaster seasons in Mainu and Santos, alongside one without any Premier League experience in Ederson. None has proven he can do it week in, week out at this level, which is exactly the gamble United avoided by walking away from Fernandes, and the gamble other clubs happily took. Tottenham backing Fernandes and Tonali with conviction, Chelsea built around the proven Caicedo-Fernandes pairing. If Santos struggles to adapt, or a European campaign exposes United's inexperienced middle, supporters will ask why the club didn't just pay for proven quality when it had the chance. That's the bet United have made. Whether Santos becomes the dynamic goal-scoring force Chelsea believed he could be, or needs another year to adapt, is the question that defines how this transfer gets remembered. Get it right, and it's a stroke of genius from the recruitment team. Get it wrong, and it could be a painful season ahead at Old Trafford. What do you think of the signing? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time. Bye!